Frank Muir goes into marriage and investigates the humour of the subject with the help of Alfred Marks.
A young bride married a handsome older man and was distressed to find out he'd been married 3 times before. But what happened to the other 3, she asked. Well, said her husband, the first one died from eating poisoned mushrooms. How terrible. What about the second one? Yeah, she died also from eating poisoned mushrooms. And the third one? Well, she died of a fractured skull. Well, that's ghastly, said the wife. Well, it was her own fault, wasn't it? She wouldn't eat the bloody mushrooms. At a rather posh wedding, all the presents were displayed, and in prominent position was a cheque for £5,000, a present from the bride's father. As the guests filed past the display, the bridegroom was annoyed to notice one man roaring with laughter at the cheque. "Who's that?" he asked. "Oh," his bride replied, "it's only Daddy's bank manager."
Have you heard? Old Henry got married last week.
Good, I never liked the fellow. A newly wedded wife was paying her first visit to the butcher. "What can I do for you, madam?" he asked. "A pound of steak, please." "Yes, there you are. Anything else?" "Yes, could I have some gravy too, please?"
All right, now, are you married?
No, I've always been round-shouldered.
Marriage, as we just proved, is one of the most abused institutions in the world. It seems that nobody's got a good word to say for it. Perhaps people who are happily married don't think about it, so comment on the subject is left to the disillusioned and cynical. Let's hear some of their depressing views. Here's George Jean Nathan.
Marriage is based on the theory that when a man discovers a particular brand of beer exactly to his taste, he should at once throw up his job and go to work in the brewery.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
Marriage is a sort of friendship recognized by the police.
Herbert Spencer.
Marriage, the ceremony in which rings are put on the finger of a lady and through the nose of the gentleman.
And a beautiful image from J.B. Priestley.
Marriage is like paying an endless visit in your worst clothes.
Considering the shower of vitriolic abuse that's been hurled at it since records began, it's amazing that marriage still survives at all. Perhaps the truth is expressed by Harry Emerson Fosdick.
It is not marriage that fails, it's people that fail. All that marriage does is to show people up.
Well, in spite of everything, statistics show that marriage still thrives. Mind you, statistics can show anything. Here's an extract from the Albany Knickerbocker News.
Before the war, 35% of working women were single. Now it's the other way round. 65% are married. A big change in women's lives.
Now, the motives for marriage vary. Love is still rated quite highly, though that suffers almost as much abuse as wedlock itself. And then there's the profit motive. Lord Chesterfield on the subject.
Well, there are but 2 objects in marriage, love or money. If you marry for love, you will certainly have some very happy days and probably many very uneasy ones. If for money, you will have no happy days and probably no uneasy ones.
So you take your choice and your chance. As well as abusing the institution of marriage, many wits have pointed out the disillusioning difference between the before and after, between courtship and marriage. Lord Byron.
Though women are angels, yet wedlock's the devil.
William Congreve.
Courtship is to marriage as a very witty prologue to a very dull play.
The freedom of an affair is always praised above the regularity of marriage. One of the conditions of the courtly love, so keenly sought in medieval times, was that it was an extramarital love. But romance has its drawbacks too, as Oscar Wilde observed.
20 years of romance make a woman look like a ruin, but 20 years of marriage make her something like a public building.
Which, I suppose you can argue, is just preferable. The reasons that push people over the brink into matrimony vary considerably. A report from the old Daily Graphic.
A marriage at Merthyr. Magistrate to a woman who sought a maintenance order.
Do you love your husband?
No, I married him out of spite. I've been let down twice, see? I determined the next man who asked me had had it.
And a letter from the old Daily Herald.
I fell in love with my husband simply because he was so different from every other boy I'd ever met. He did not like love-making, and neither do I. He's never actually told me he loves me. He never actually proposed. But we saw a three-piece suite we liked, and that clinched the idea.
Well, why not? There are still parts of the world where wives can be bought. But in England, the commercial nature of the contract isn't usually advertised. Forthcoming marriages are announced on the social page, not in the stock market report. Mind you, in these announcements and the accounts of weddings, newspapers don't always avoid the ridiculous. Alfred, forward with some examples.
The bride's father is proprietor of an old-fashioned meat business. The bride wore a gown of white satin fashioned with short leg of mutton sleeves.
And another.
The bridesmaids' dresses were pretty combinations of blue and pink. The marriage of Miss Anna Block and Mr. Willis Dashwood, which was announced in this paper a few weeks ago, was a mistake, and we wish to correct it.
Well, mistake or not, marriages do happen, and a surprising number of them still happen in church.
How you feeling? Terrible. My guts is turning over something rotten. Have you got the flask?
Not in here. It's your fault. I've got no sympathy for you. Getting married at your age, it's ridiculous. It won't work.
I don't start that again. It's too late. You've been trying to break it up for 3 months as it is. Melanie and I are getting married whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'll give it 6 months. A young girl like that, marrying a... How old are you? You'll be 50 when she's 30.
Oh, shut up. Don't you ever give up. I've got to hand it to you, you know. Here we are in church, 5 minutes to go, and you're still rabbiting away. I should have thought asking you to be the best man would have shut you up. Have you got the ring?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Where is it?
Here it is, round me ankle.
Oh, take it out of that thing. That has got to go on her finger. Put it in your pocket and don't lose it.
Hasn't changed much, has it?
What has?
This place. I've been in here since I put your mother away.
Nice thing to say on my wedding day.
Well, it's the church of the parish, this
Well, it
is.
suits me.
What a miserable place to get married in. I don't know why you didn't get married in a registry office. Save your money, all this posh, la-di-da stuff.
We've been through all this before. Melanie wanted a white wedding.
White wedding, there. That's starting off with a lie to begin with.
What do you mean by that? Look, Melanie and I are very much in love with each other, and there's nothing you can say or do is going to alter that. So you might as well just shut your cake hole and get used to the idea.
What's that old boot grisling about?
She's upset. Well, it's quite natural. It's her only daughter.
Don't let that fool you. She's tickled pink. She shot her at last. Take a good look at her, mate, because that's what your bird's going to look like in 20 years' time.
Wilfred Bramble and Harry H. Corbett in Steptoe and Son. Once the marriage is over, the protagonists, or protagonist and antagonist in some cases, immediately change status. They cease to be an engaged couple and they suddenly become honeymooners or newlyweds, both popular fodder for jokers. Few honeymoon jokes are repeatable on radio, but I think Alfred can probably find one.
A couple arrive at the hotel for the first night of their honeymoon. They go up to the bedroom and the wife undresses and gets into bed.
All honeymoon jokes begin like this. It's a little bit worrying, but it is a recording.
But the husband doesn't go to bed. Instead, he sits looking out of the open window at the sky. After a while, the wife says, "Won't you come to bed, darling?" "Oh, no," says the husband. "Why not?" "Well, my father said this would be the best night of my life, and I don't want to miss a minute of it."
Newly-wedded wives also suffer in jokes from allegations about their housekeeping abilities. Alfred.
"Darling, darling," said the newly-wedded husband to his wife, I didn't say you were a bad cook. I just said that our dustbin had got ulcers." I'm sorry about the eggs, darling," said the young wife to her husband. They were frying beautifully, but then the shells cracked and they spread all over the pan." "Darling, darling," says the wife, "I made this cake all by myself." "Oh, yes," said the husband. "Who helped you lift it out of the oven?"
And so on. Well, food is significant in marriage. The way to a man's heart is supposed to be through his stomach, but a continuous cycle of meals can be a bit of a strain.
The glances over cocktails that seem to be so sweet don't seem quite so amorous over the shredded wheat.
That anonymous rhyme captures some of the disillusionment and cynicism common in marriage jokes. Simple abuse of the wife is a popular routine for music hall comedians. Woody Allen.
I wanted to discuss my marriage. So it's important. My marriage, or as it was known, the Oxbow incident. I had a rough marriage. Well, my wife was an immature woman, and that's all I can say. See if this is not immature to you. I would be home in the bathroom taking a bath, and my wife would walk right in whenever she felt like and sink my boots. It was partially my fault that we got divorced. I had a lousy attitude toward her. For the first year of marriage, I had basically a bad attitude. I guess I tended to place my wife underneath a pedestal all the time. We used to argue and fight, and we finally decided we'd either take a vacation in Bermuda or get a divorce, one of the two things. And we discussed it very maturely, and we decided on the divorce, because we felt that we had a limited amount of money to spend, you know. The vacation in Bermuda's over in 2 weeks, but a divorce is something that you always have. And I saw myself free again, living in the village, you know, in a bachelor apartment with a wood-burning fireplace and a shaggy rug, you know, and on the wall some of those great Picassos by Van Gogh, and just great swinging airline hostesses running amok in the apartment, you know. And I got very excited, and I ran into my wife. She was in the next room at the time, listening to Conelrad on the radio. I laid it right on the line with her. I came right to the point. I said, "Quasimodo, I want a divorce." And she said, "Great, get the divorce." But it turns out, in New York State, they have a strange law that says you can't get a divorce unless you can prove adultery. And that is weird because the 10 Commandments say, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." The New York State says you have to. You go out, it's like a toss-up between God and Rockefeller. So I figured one of us has got to commit adultery to get the divorce. I volunteered.
Woody Allen. In spite of all... Yes. But in spite of all this anti-marriage propaganda and humour, the institution itself stands up very well. And some couples stay sentimental and soppy about each other all their lives, continually giving tokens of their affection. Here's a letter from today.
My husband is a shy man, and whenever he brings flowers home to me, he always conceals them under his bowler hat. As a result, they have to be little flowers like violets or anemones and tend to smell of brilliantine. Surely there must be some other way in which self-conscious men cope with this problem.
Marriage has celebrations marking its chapters, wedding anniversaries, which often seem only to exist to be forgotten in comedy shows. And then there are the special anniversaries when the whole family celebrates, like the silver wedding.
To you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Mummy and Daddy. Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you. I'm glad someone remembered.
Hey, remember what?
It's our silver wedding.
Well, is it? Well, nobody told me, did they?
You shouldn't have to be told.
Look, you don't expect me to go around remembering every odd little social occasion what happens, do you? Oh, I've got other things on my mind, I have. Get on for me.
Yes, I suppose you have. Oh, yeah, what with boozing and playing darts up the pub with all your cronies, I suppose it's too much to expect you to remember a little thing like my silver wedding.
No, I would have remembered it if I'd have thought of it. I didn't know it was coming round so soon, did I?
You don't even know what it means, do you?
What?
Silver wedding.
Of course I know what it means. It means we've been, like, married for a while.
25 years. Today's the anniversary of my wedding day, 25 years ago. That's what it means.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Oh, no, Ma, look, I don't think you meant it that way.
No, it's got nothing to do with you.
No, what I'm trying to say, Dad, is I don't think perhaps you put it quite...
Don't stop. I know how to say things, don't I?
Married to that pig for 25 years. Nothing, not even a card.
All right, I'll go out and buy you a card if that's what you want.
I don't want your cards. You can stick your cards. Oh. Yeah. I never ought to have married you, Alf Garnett. I should have listened to my mother. She was right. I know now you're nothing but an ill-mannered, drunken pig.
Oh, shut up, you silly Lou. You give me a headache.
What's this then? Open it and see. Oh. Well, who's that from, then?
Well, there's another card in there, Ma.
Eh?
A card.
Oh, yeah. Read it, then. To my darling wife, the treasure of my life, love and kisses, your sweetheart, Alf. Ah. Oh, you did remember. Oh, and all those things I said, and you did remember.
Yeah, well, it's all right. It's all
Hey,
right.
let's have a look, Ma. Hey?
Yeah.
Bloody heck, Dad, that must have set you back a few bob, mustn't it, eh?
much,
Isn't it lovely?
It is, it's lovely. Is that a real pearl, do you think?
Oh, no, I shouldn't think so.
The Garnett family from Till Death. The Garnett family is probably quite a good argument that the most important quality in any marriage is tolerance. Not total calm, but a workable antagonism. You know, arguments are necessary. Here's A.P. Herbert.
The idea of two people living together for 25 years without an argument suggests a lack of spirit only to be admired in sheep.
Sometimes marriage requires one partner to give way. As Vicky Baum observes cynically,
Marriage always demands the greatest understanding of the art of insincerity possible between two human beings.
but tolerance need not be insincerity. Sometimes it's just a case of accepting one's partner's little idiosyncrasies, such as this letter from Good Shopping.
When my husband reads in bed on warm nights, he puts a colander over his head. He says it keeps off the flies, shades his eyes from the light and lets in the air at the same time.
I think that's a terribly good idea. Accept little things like that and you're on the way to success in marriage. Ready for the give and take that's part of the institution.
Ah, I'd love to be alone in the country.
John?
Yes?
I'm with you.
I'd love to be alone in the country.
But John, you brought me with you.
I didn't. You hid in the back.
But you must have noticed.
Not at all. It's a very large tandem.
John, when we fell off going down the stairs, you must have seen me.
I thought you were a hitchhiker.
But I'm your wife. You must have recognized me.
I didn't marry.
Why not?
Well, because you were disguised as a cactus.
Oh, John. John. Talk to me. Say something to me. Say you hate me. Say I'm ugly.
Which?
Say I'm ugly. You're only saying that. You don't really mean it. You don't care. You never think about me. Up and down all night, warming the milk, mashing the rusks, all the crying and the bedwetting.
Yes, I know.
I wouldn't mind if we had a baby.
I'm sorry, but I prefer bisons.
John, why don't you admit it? You don't love me anymore.
All right, I admit it.
John, once we had something that was pure and wonderful and good. What's happened to it?
You spent it all.
That's all that matters to you, isn't it? Money. I despise you. Do you hear me? I hate you. I don't know how I've been able to stand it. I suppose it's because I love you. I don't know. I do love you, John. I love you more than I can say. I need you, John. Please, John, don't look at photographs of nude women while I'm talking to you.
Oh, all right, but, I know you know.
You know?
Yes.
Oh, God. John.
Yes?
What do you know?
Well, I could be wrong.
You mean about me and Nigel?
Oh, I was wrong. I thought it was Rupert.
You're right, it is Rupert. I can never remember names.
Anyway, I do know about last Friday.
Last Friday?
Yes. He was in my bed, wasn't he?
How did you know?
He kept pushing me out.
You mean you were there too?
You didn't even notice? Oh, God.
John Cleese and Joe Kendall. From I'm sorry, I'll read that again. That came from. Well, that's just about it for marriage. We'll finish with a famous old word of wisdom from the pages of Punch, Volume 8, I think 1847. Mr. Punch's advice to young men about to be married.
Don't.
Well, next week we'll be looking into the humour connected with the family. Until then, from Alfred Marks and me, goodbye.
Bye.
Frank Muir Goes Into Marriage was produced by Simon Brett and Bob Oliver Rogers.
Frank Muir goes into class and investigates the humour of the subject with the help of Alfred Marks.
There was a private soldier who went on sick parade. What's the trouble, then? Asked the M.O. Well, sir, I've in my abdomen, sir. Now, listen, soldier, said the M.O. Officers have abdomens, NCOs have stomachs. What you've got is a pain in your belly. The titled gentleman decided to economise, so when he left his club, he didn't hail a taxi as usual. He caught a bus instead. When he got inside, he said to the conductor, 17 Colchester Square, and it's easy if you go through the park. Earl went salmon fishing in Ireland, and after a fortnight without a bite, he eventually hooked one small salmon. As Paddy, his gilly, landed it, the Earl said, Do you know that salmon cost me £200? Ah, said Paddy, aren't you the lucky man that you didn't catch two? A filthy old tramp knocked at the door of a stately home, and when the lady of the house opened it, he said, oh, please, could I have a piece of fruit cake? What do you mean, fruit cake, said the lady. Surely a bit of bread would be better for you. Oh, maybe, said the tramp. You see, today's my birthday.
Do you know that my family goes back to the Marquis of Granby?
Yes, every evening at opening time. Middle-class children take riding lessons and dancing lessons. Lower-class children take anything that isn't nailed down.
Mary!
Yes, ma'am?
Mary, where's that chicken I told you to heat up?
Well, yes, ma'am. You told me to heat it up, and I've heated it up. All of it. A majestic Rolls-Royce was reversing into a metre space in London when a grubby little Mini nipped into the space from behind. The Mini's owner, a brash young man, got out and strolled past the Rolls-Royce and said, got to be young and fast to do that. The enormous car's owner didn't look at the young man. He just continued reversing and squashed the Mini into a tangled heap against the curb. Then he got out and handed the astonished young man a cut of his insurance details and said, you have to be old and very rich to do that.
The British class system is still very much with us. Although its form changes continually, and although some people maintain that there is progress towards a classless society, the barriers and divisions of class are still popular sources of comedy. For many people, class divisions are part of nature. It's part of the order of thing. All must observe their degrees. In the words of Ulysses in Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida,
take but degree away, untune that string and hark, what discord follows.
You know the expression, making a meal of it? It's quite right, though. The discords still sound the discords of social climbing, the discords of impoverished gentility. But the barriers of class in England were always erodable by the power of money. Breeding could, in time, almost be bought. And this makes the definition of class increasingly difficult. What makes someone a gentleman? Perhaps it's a sort of naturality, something from within. Here's Edmund Burke.
Somebody has said that a king may make a nobleman, but cannot make a gentleman.
Robert Surtees.
The only infallible rule we know is that the man who's always talking about being a gentleman never is one.
There's a subtle difference between actually being a gentleman and not being one. Mr. Saltina, in Daisy Ashford's book, The Young Visitors, shows commendable self-knowledge on the subject.
I do hope I shall enjoy myself with you. I am partial to the ladies if they are nice. I suppose it is my nature. I'm not quite a gentleman, but you would hardly notice it.
There are certain standards by which one can begin to divine one's social position, education, accent, use of language, and so on. It's difficult to talk about social divisions with any authority. I think at this juncture in the programme, what we need are a few basic definitions.
The English still enjoy the remains of their class system. There's one rich man in Chelsea who's so snobbish he won't even travel in the same car as his chauffeur. How do the three classes in England see each other?
I look down on him because I am upper class.
I look up to him because he is upper class. But I look down on him because he is lower class. I am middle class. I know my place. I look up to them both. But I don't look up to him as much as I look up to him. Because he has got innate breeding.
I have got innate breeding, but I have not got any money. So sometimes I look up to him.
I still look up to him, because although I have money, I am vulgar. But I'm not as vulgar as him, so I still look down on him. I know my place.
I look up to them both. But while I am poor, I'm industrious, honest, and trustworthy. Had I the inclination, I could look down on them. But I don't.
We all know, but what do we get out of it?
I get a feeling of superiority over them.
I get a feeling of inferiority from him, but a feeling of superiority over him.
I get a pain in the back of my neck.
John Cleese, Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett. And a whiff of David Frost in the beginning. Issues of class have long been subjects for discussion. Here's the famous question posed by John Bell in his Blackheath sermon to Wat Tyler's rebels in 1381.
When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then a gentleman?
Oh, indeed. Presumably not Eve. One must beware of assuming that all men are equal when stripped off and their clothes and symbols of position taken away from them. Here's an extract from the Naturist magazine about a nudist club.
Membership is strictly limited as to numbers, so there is no fear that it will ever be overcrowded or that uncongenial spirits or persons of a low class will ever bring a jarring note into the club. The Abbey Club meets the needs of those who hitherto have been deterred from joining a Naturist club by the fear that they may find as fellow members some humble employee, the butler, baker, broker, or the insurance man, snobbish about the club.
Heaven forfend. It's wonderful how broad-minded people can be about class. One of the functions of education should be to instill a healthy tolerance for all types of people, but often it does just the reverse, and it's sometimes difficult to be tolerant without being patronising. Here's an extract from the famous Eric, or Little by Little.
There was one point about Ayrton Latin School that Eric never regretted. It was the mixture there of all classes. On those benches, gentlemen's sons sat side by side with plebeians, and no harm but only good seemed to come from the intercourse. Many a time afterwards, when Eric, as he passed down the streets, interchanged friendly greetings with some young glazier or tradesman whom he remembered at school, he felt glad that thus early he'd learned practically to despise the accidental and nominal differences which separate man and man.
Right and proper. Yes. It is important that there should be a kindly relationship between the haves and the have-nots.
Nowadays, it is the custom to think of the aristocracy and leisured classes of Edwardian days as being devoted to little else besides selfish pleasures and amusements. Now, this simply was not the case, and I would like in the next few minutes attempt to destroy this fallacy. As a very young boy, some of my earliest recollections are of being taken by my father, in those days Chancellor of the Exchequer, on his occasional tours of the estate at Charters. In the course of these expeditions, it was his practice to visit those among his poorer tenants and employees who, by reason of accident, old age, or sheer carelessness, happened to be destitute and nearly starving. Dear faithful Elliot, the coachman, would invariably accompany us, carrying an enormous wicker basket which was covered with a dazzling white cloth and containing bowls of dripping and cold stock, cabbage stalks, potato peelings, and other nutritious kitchen scraps. As well as these material comforts, my father also distributed tracts of an improving and uplifting nature which he wrote himself and printed at his own expense. I very well remember one occasion when my father and I visited the sick bed of an ancient and decrepit wagoner who had somehow managed to get himself badly trampled underfoot while attempting to stop a runaway horse and cart. Although the poor old fellow could hardly move, he made a pathetic effort to sit up in bed and tug at his forelock as we entered the wretched bedroom. You see, Our sudden appearance induced in him what psychologists now call a conditioned reflex, and this honest rustic could no more have prevented himself from trying to show his respect than a dog can prevent its tail wagging at the side of its master. My father, who I think I may have mentioned before, was at this time First Lord of the Admiralty. He began to tell the invalid that such formalities could be dispensed with under the circumstances, but too late. With a sickening thud that I can hear to this very day, the grizzled pate came into smart contact with an oak beam which curved down just above the bed. And with a low moan, the unhappy man fell back stunned onto his pillow. He never regained consciousness. Distressed as we were at this incident, my father and I offered a word of cheer to the wagoner's wife, and we pressed upon her a basket full of rotten apples and a bundle of tracts to port a philanthropic word. A most merciful release, mother, after the wagoner's funeral. Why, he might have lingered on in a bedridden condition for many years, a misery to himself and a burden to others. Providence works in many strange ways. As a footnote, I would like to add that there is no doubt in my mind at all that my father, who was then, I fancy, president of the Board of Trade, would actually have attended the funeral of his late employee had it not been for a sudden attack of gout that kept him indoors on the day. I hope, in relating this anecdote, that I have indicated something of the wonderful sort of relationship which used to exist between the family at the Hall and the peasantry on the estate, a relationship which, alas, is nowhere to be found nowadays. A thing, I fear, that has changed for the best.
Peter Sellers. It is important to have the right attitude to servants. Here's a poem by Harry Graham called Mr. Jones.
There's been an accident, they said. Your servant's cut in half. He's dead. Indeed, said Mr. Jones. And please, send me the half that's got my keys.
If you didn't guess, that was a ruthless rhyme by him. Actually, it's no joke having servants, so, as you all know. The problems are immense. How do some people manage? Here's a letter from the Times.
But we cannot understand why, although there are thousands of women and girls unemployed, when we ask at the labour exchanges for domestic servants, we are told that none is available. I, for example, who live alone very quietly with a staff of 7 domestics, am quite unable to obtain a kitchen maid.
Not for me to comment, but it does seem inhuman that anyone should suffer such privations in this day and age. And then sometimes the behaviour of the serving classes gives cause for concern.
Do you gents want something to drink? Though said in a perfectly friendly manner, was not way for a white-class passengers.
That one was from the Sunday Times. Mind you, it's sometimes difficult to know what is correct behaviour at table, in which case you can take advice.
Nowadays, if you're worried about seating arrangements for your guests, you can write to the Heralds of the College of Arms and hope for a reply as superb as the one received by the anxious hostess of the Aga Khan. The Aga Khan, it ran, is held by his followers to be the direct descendant of God. An English duke takes precedence.
That splendid fact, which I'm sure in your bones you knew already, was from the Housewife magazine. The peers of the realm are born to rule, but perhaps not to cope with the more domestic details of life. Here's a report from the Sunday Telegraph.
The perils of travelling without a valet are illustrated by an experience which recently befell the Duke of Marlborough as a guest of one of his daughters. She was surprised to hear him complain that his toothbrush did not foam properly, so would she buy him a new one? He had to be reminded gently that without the aid of tooth powder, usually applied for him each morning by his valet, no toothbrush foamed automatically.
Making mock of the aristocracy has a long history. Here's one from Matthew Arnold.
One has often wondered whether upon the whole earth there is anything so unintelligent, so unapt to perceive how the world is really going, as an ordinary young Englishman of our upper class.
It's a bit sweeping, perhaps, for nowadays. Many of our peers are very aware of how the world's going, particularly those peers who make vast profits from their stately homes.
How do you do?
How are you, sir?
Very pleased to meet you.
Thank you, your lordship. You have certainly a beautiful home here.
You like it?
Yes, yes. Very nice. All these...
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's a marvel. All these people. What are all these people doing here?
Yes, well, you see, I tell you, where we have, where I think I've scored over the other earls,
yes,
is that, you see, they have nothing to offer except their home as such, and a few old tin suits of armor. Whereas I have got into the thing thoroughly, and I have other attractions. So, you see, when they come out, and they've seen the home, then we set about them.
Well, I see all the attractions, your lordship, but would you please tell the radio audience exactly, would you point out, what is that over there, for example?
No, that thing I find that takes a lot of money.
Oh?
I probably take more money with that than I do everything else we've got here.
You mean you get
Coconut
money?
shies or anything. Yes, I'll tell you what that is. On my frequent trips into the West End, into town, I noticed that, you probably noticed yourself,
yes,
lots of buildings being pulled down and put up, you know, I mean construction and
yes,
demolition.
yes.
Well, what I decided to do, I noticed that members of the public stopped, you see, and watched this going on. And I thought to myself, well, my goodness me, if they've got time to stop and watch, they've got time to pay. Rather mercenary about these things.
And you charge these people admission?
Oh, yes, indeed. You see, the idea is they can come in one day and watch these bricks being put up.
I see.
And then the following day, 2 days later, and they can see them being, the same bricks they saw being put up and taken down again.
Oh, that's
and they pay a normal fee, you know, but half a crown or something like that.
Oh.
And they can stay all day and drink tea.
Well, Earl, is there anything else you'd like to say? This is going all over America, you know, and I'm sure America is very interested.
Well, may I plug my latest record? As a matter of fact, I've made a record. I made a jolly good record, and I hope it will become a bestseller in America. What?
Well, I'd like to wish you all the best luck with your record.
Thank you very much indeed.
Norman, Earl of Prawn.
Prawn, yes.
Thank you.
And here it is. I say, doodle up a dong ding. Get a jiving and a writhing.
Jolly rocking weather.
I'm a gambling girl, rock around the castle, a gambling girl, just a hound dog girl.
Yeah.
I love to roll with my lover doll. They call me Earl, Let's hear. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, time for a rock kicking. I say, let's go, let's jump like mad. Rock me, Peter, oh, I got the big beat bad. Rock with the tenants and roll with the peasants.
Oh,
I love to feel that beat in my country seat. Rock, 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 rock.
We had a few more Peter Sellers there. And of course, at the top of the social ladder is the royal family, for whom many would still lay down their lives, though sometimes the sacrifice required is rather smaller than that. A report from the Sunday Express.
At a two-room cottage near Glamis Castle, a white-haired mother spoke proudly yesterday of a little service she'd been able to give the royal family as she revealed that 34 years ago she agreed to her baby son taking the birth registration number of 13 so that it should not go to Princess Margaret.
Very nice. The royal family is a social archetype in this country, and many aspire to imitate the behaviour of its members. Some aspire further, to be members by marriage, though the possibilities there are diminishing, certainly for men. Or to find some royal blood in their own ancestry. There's always a hope of better things in the family history. The best thing to do if you're interested in this is to start by consulting the right books. Oscar Wilde from A Woman of No Importance.
You should study the peerage, Gerald. It is the best thing in fiction the English have ever done.
And here are two experts in the matter of genealogy.
What's that you're reading, Pete? Oh, this is a wonderful book, Dad. It's steeped in history and everything else. It's Burke's Peerages. Burke's Peerages? What's that, Pete? Oh, it's a brilliant idea. It's a book which contains the names of the 20,000 most noble people in the realm. Who, Pete? Well, the 20,000 most noble people. It's a superb idea. It all dates back to the 18th century, Dad, the age of reason, when, of course, the clavichord reigned supreme. Yeah. And there was this Burke, you see. What was his... Was this Bert?
What was his name, Pete?
Bert. Bert was his name. He was one... Burke, yeah. A high-fluting Burke's, one of the great Sussex Burkes.
Yeah.
And he was wandering about in his palatial parkland on a fine 18th century summer morning.
Yeah.
A lovely scene, as you can well imagine, the sun dappling through the trees.
Of course, one of his beautiful peacocks flaunting its feathers in the sunlight.
Precisely. emitting the strange bird-like cry which sometimes comes from them. Very similar to the noise you just admitted. And suddenly...
Play it cool, boy.
No, suddenly it come to him.
What come to him, the peacock?
No, this wonderful concept come to him. He thought, why don't I get hold of the names of the 20,000 most noble people in the realm and flog it for £2 a time? He made a fortune out of it.
Of course he did, Pete. I could exactly the same thing, though, couldn't I? I could go up Barron Road and knock on every door saying, excuse me, Mrs. Taylor, I wonder if you'd give me your name and I'll put it in a book and flog it back to you.
You do very well, the Barron Road Gazette.
Yeah.
Could do very nicely with that sort of thing.
Of course you could. Clean up, boy.
Of course, the whole business of ancestry is extremely fascinating. I've been into my past, you know.
Really?
Yes, I've traced myself back at Somerset House. And do you know, in primordial times, my great-great-great-great-grandfather come over with the Druids.
What, the Druids of Lymington Crescent?
Yes, George and Phoebe's ancestors.
Oh, yeah.
The wonderful thing about it, the ancestry business, is, you know, we've all got a bit of noble blood in our veins.
Yeah, it's the best place for it, isn't it?
Well, it's a wonderful place for blood, Dad.
Let's keep it that way.
Let's keep it that way in this nuclear age when all the whole hydrogen hovers over us all. Exactly.
Exactly.
And do you know that we're all in line for succession to the throne?
Really?
Yes, if 48,701 people died, I'd be Queen.
Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. Well, Pete and Dud brought our classy programme to an end. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, Alfred and I will be taking a lower middle class look into food. Until then, good day to you.
Ta-ra, much.
Frank Muir Goes Into Class was produced by Simon Brett and Bob Oliver Rogers.